Happy Comic Book Day and welcome back, all you four-color funny book aficionados. This is US Comics Cast, HQ for all things comic book connected. We are John and Charlie Rivera, the co-founders of US Comics. Charlie, happy Comic Book Day.
And happy Comic Book Day to you and to everybody listening and watching today. As always, we are brought to you by Bad Mary Band and Sergeant Finesse Gaming. If you haven't done so already, please smash that like and or follow button and hit that comment section like a 75% off sale at KayBee Toys, baby!
Woo! Charlie gonna clean up today.
Oh, clean up! I shall, because if there's one thing I know in this nerd hut, right, you tune in to US Comics Cast, you're greeted by every variety of Latin beefcake ever, right? You got our lambda, elderly statesman, all in good shape, all thin, all delicious looking. You got the chubby, youthful, appreciative counterpart, right? The chubby side of the coin. One of us is surrounded by a couple key collectibles, some graphic novels, some amazing books and pieces of art, and the other is in a nerd haven. I got toys to the left of me, toys to the right of me, and it's just about time, John, that we help these beautiful people out by going mano a mano on the 5-year anniversary of the Netflix exclusive Toys That Made Us. You and I are gonna go dream shopping, and we're gonna talk about the best of the best the toy aisles have to offer. And I hope you got something better than obvious, because I need to know one thing, my brother. I need to know your favorite all-time toy line. The people need to know. I need to know. Raise them eyebrows high. And let the people know who you think is number one.
For someone who resides basically in aisle 7 of an actual toy store, it seems like almost an embarrassing question for you to put out into the world. But I realize some days you gotta do what Charlie gotta do. Just the actual utterance of the question, what's your favorite toy line, equals what's the greatest toy line ever conceived of.
For someone who hates lists,
about it.
I love that your opinion,
no debate.
Fact.
Well, look, here's the thing. That's like somebody saying, what's the greatest country in the world? America, the United States, is the greatest country. Like, you don't even have to really think about it. It's just a fact. Now,
my set's falling
the
apart.
answer, as Charlie just throws shit up and down the place, the answer is a very, very simple one. Also, the greatest in America, it's the Defenders of America, codename G.I. Joe. Yo, Joe! Don't ask Cobra, because they don't want to hear about it. G.I. Joe is without question the greatest toy line of all time. Ergo, it's my favorite. What about you?
You know what my problem is, John?
I know many problems that you have. Go ahead and tell me one of them.
One of my big problems is I think that there's certain important features to a toy. It needs to be aesthetically pleasing. It needs to be fun as hell. It needs to be inherently toyetic.
Point.
And it needs to not have its thumbs break off the minute you try to put a machine gun in its head. Because there is a correct answer. And they're just about 3 3/4, bro. But they are too young to serve in the military because it is, of course, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. John, let's start with the obvious.
Charlie, please.
Let's start with the obvious. Look here. I have Raphael in my hand. Vintage.
Indeed.
Look, older than me. Just look how handsome. Look how handsome and ornery Raphael is. Those of you that are joining us
just
on YouTube.
sitting there has a problem with all of society. inherently thinks he's better than everybody else while being woefully worried about his shortcomings. And I'm not talking about Raphael right now. I'm talking about Charlie, but also
Rude.
as well as
Rude.
Raphael happens to have those same tendencies. But you know what, though, Charlie? I'm going to
No,
give
real
you an
quick.
opportunity.
Look at this. Look at this special feature of this toy from the 80s, mind you, or maybe early 90s, 92. I take his sai out of his hand. His thumb stays intact. I put the sai in his hand. Look at that thumb.
Yeah,
let me fix his rubber band. Oh, he doesn't have a weird rubber band in his tummy.
That your chunk of singular plastic, your 5-point articulation chunk of plastic, stayed in one piece.
7 points of articulation.
But once again, I'm gonna go ahead. I'll give you the opportunity here. Why don't you walk the good people through your introduction to the Turtles, to your first few memorable toys that you put your little grubby mitts on. Give us at least the opportunity to tell you why you're wrong. I mean, to revel in your love of the Turtles.
My first introduction to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wasn't the cartoon, wasn't the film, it wasn't the comic book. I was far too young for Mirage Studios to be in my life.
And illiterate.
It was the toy aisle. I saw little Raphael with his bright white chompers and his gnarling face. And then I saw a vehicle that's so iconic, that's so glorious, that I needed Santa.
Blimp is what you're talking about?
I needed Santa to deliver. No, sir. It is
my mistake.
The party wagon. John, the party wagon has bombs, has seats for 6.
As all good party wagons do.
Anti-foot blasters, wacko bombs, and spring action foot tenderizer.
In the van. I hate to tell the Turtles this, but Turtles have 4 feet. The last thing in the world that the Turtles are is anti-foot, because they got 4 of them. Those little shell-shocked goobers. The last time that I saw any Turtles that were worth their weight, they were flipping around Rocky Balboa's little fishbowl. And yeah, I'm talking about Cuff and Link. Because if Cuff and Link had thrown their little action around the ooze, they would have come up with something a little bit cooler than some fucking, some mid-century painters.
If you gave Playmates one more bite at that initial 200 figure wave,
crossover,
they would have
baby,
gotten
crossover.
to boxing Cuff and Link rather would have been 2 boxing ass turtles.
Absolutely. If
I would have paid
Shredder
to see that.
had recruited Cuff and Link instead of Bebop and Rocksteady, it's an entirely different story, because you got the Turtles, as we know them, trained by Splinter, but you got Cuff and Link trained by Rocky Balboa and maybe even Mickey.
I don't want to betray my boys. It would be 3-on-3, because Raphael would be like, "What's this other team doing? Oh shit, Apollo is helping."
I love. Marciano's my guy too, man. I'm with you guys.
Oh my! It wouldn't even take him half. He would literally take his bandana off and be like, "I need a red, white, and blue striped one, please. Thank you, John."
I'll help you out a little bit, Charlie, because actually the toy line, by Playmates, as you inferred, inspired by the success of G.I. Joe, but also of Transformers, they came a little late to the party, per usual, for those that Charlie emulates. So yeah, there are gonna be certain advantages. So I'll throw a little history your way, as if there was this episode of the toys that made us. So G.I. Joe, originally a line created, not a soldier doll, not a doll for boys, but the first action figure, an action figure. Get it right. So they rolled out this large size
doll
action. I'll kill you. I will
curly
kill you
hair, fuzzy curly hair.
Not till later. That's the second generation. But the bottom line is they put these guys out, the characters, and then you were just in essence buying different uniforms, different accessories, different play sets. It was a solid business model.
Doll set.
However,
It's a great doll set.
however, when they put them out, you want to talk about thumb problems. They did the mold of one hand backwards. So on the thumb of the original G.I. Joe action doll, I'll meet you halfway. The nail was on the underside of the thumb. So
Great.
inevitably,
Mutants.
when
Fantastic.
that should make them your favorite.
They're
So when
back in.
companies rolled in and tried to rip them off, they're like, oh no, this is different. See, there's no scar on the face. Yeah, because they made their own head, but they just totally replicated the body. They ripped off the bodies completely. So the rip-offs also had thumbnails on the bottom side of the thumb. So if you're going to rip them off, man, at least do it the right way. Take the opportunity to fix the shortcomings, because as Charlie said, the biggest issue with the Kung Fu grip is because sometimes goofy kids can be a little bit too strong for their own good and work the thumb until it's gone. But that all being said, Charlie, the sheer volume of G.I. Joe figures that we growing up had to choose from at the end of their 80s production run, I think there were over 250 different G.I. Joe figures from which to choose from. Charlie, how many iterations of turtles, from the sport turtle, the transforming turtle, the rapper turtle? You basically had the same 4 turtles in 72 different. You're taking shots at Barbie. The turtles had more outfits than Barbie.
Here's the problem that you seem back in your day, right?
Yeah,
There was a originality problem, right? Because let's be real.
All right.
Duke, right? Duke,
yeah,
or Hawk, or Barbecue, or Sailor Sam, or Snow Job,
no
or
Sailor Sam
Plumber
characters.
Pete. John,
no Plumber
the problem is, no singular G.I. Joe was able to, on their shoulders, carry the brand. So
Incorrect.
You didn't have, shut your mouth, you didn't have,
Incorrect already.
You didn't have Duke, and then Arctic Duke, and then Fire Duke.
No,
Turtles,
because
shut your
one
mouth.
Duke was
the
enough.
Turtle, shut your mouth. It's never enough. It's never enough. You needed Power Duncan Donatello. You needed Swashbuckling Leo.
Oh,
you
no,
very
no.
much needed in recent history. You can't see him, Raphael Cena, because the Ninja Turtles are icons.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Storm
Let me ask you
Shadow.
this. Let me go ahead and
is
first of all watch your mouth right now.
trash.
Watch him. See, automatically you're now cut off completely. You can go ahead and turn in that last name. You will not be needing it anymore, because the bottom line is this: Storm Shadow, as dope as Storm Shadow is only the second best Aragashi ninja out there, man. Because freaking my guy Snake Eyes, you gotta understand something. On the original run of 12 G.I. Joe figures, they were so unwilling to take away any deco from these dope figures, these 3 3/4 warriors, that they said, you know what? No. They want a 10% decrease. What we're going to do is we're going to leave the deco as designed for all the other figures, but we're going to put out one character with 0 deco, a jet black figure, and that mother sucker went on to become the most popular G.I. Joe that there ever was.
Do you know why?
Recognize that's called turning a weakness into your greatest strength, son.
You know what? It really speaks volumes that the most popular G.I. Joe said nothing, had no deco.
So what you're saying, Charlie, is that ninjas aren't cool?
4. No,
So
I'm
ninjas
saying
are the problem?
that
Okay,
adult
okay.
ninjas are not cool.
Let me
Teenage
tell you something, Charlie.
ninjas.
They were teenagers in 1987. They are old men now. They are old. They need to hang it up.
Well,
they need to
let's
hang it
talk-
up.
let's
But you
talk
know what?
about
I'm
that,
gonna
though.
go ahead. I'm gonna give you this one though, real
sure,
quick,
sure.
and then you can run with it.
Absolutely.
Immediately, you said your eye was drawn to the party wagon, as it were, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, pizza shooters, flip open doors. Yeah, not bad.
I'm sorry.
Not bad.
I'm sorry.
Not bad at all.
The pizza shooter was featured on their Zamboni, which was battery powered.
How stupid of me.
So
you're
shut your
entirely
mouth.
right. So you are going ahead and you're spending your little childhood days, wasting them playing with fictional little turtles that can never happen. Like the entire turtle concept
Can never
obviously
happen.
derived
Have
from
you
the
seen The World
Eastman
lately?
and Laird comic book, which was in itself a spoof of Daredevil. Oh, Daredevil's got the hand, we got the foot. Oh yeah, the ooze made you blind. Oh, the ooze mutated us. Yeah, we get it, boys. Good job, well done. You went ahead and shined up a nickel and turned it to a quarter. No, Charlie, the G.I. Joe comic book by my man Larry Hama basically could have been a fucking recruiting tool for 80s kids into the military. If I wasn't so much of a bitch, I probably would have enrolled myself. Charlie, the Larry Hama Marvel G.I. Joe comic books are a thing of beauty. Matter of fact, it was the comics that came first. It was the first comic book, Charlie, ever to be advertised on television.
Sure.
No comic book was ever on TV.
Hey, John.
What did the Turtles have? A press release? We put out a press release.
First of all, you're bringing in outside elements. So, correct me if I'm wrong.
This is the source material, kid.
Your
source
thesis,
material.
Your thesis statement seems to be, right? If I'm not mistaken, we're talking about G.I. Joe and the sum of all of its parts, huh? Is that what we're doing?
All the 1,000 parts? Absolutely.
All the 1,000 parts. So you're saying that part of this best toy line, you clearly must be including Extreme G.I. Joe, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Not like there was ever an Extreme.
Did they go 6 inches, 2 points of articulation, looking like Hulk Hogan in his prime?
Don't be jealous because some guys can go 6 inches. Sometimes you gotta grow a little bit. But Charlie, you're talking about a different generation of heroes.
I'm not sure if you understand the anatomy of turtles.
That wasn't my G.I. Joe.
Turtles have huge dongs. Let's go to the comment section.
Yeah, you can actually. You can see them if you spin them around the back of their shell.
I think they're hurting you more than helping you. Ellis over on Facebook throws out what he thinks are ninja star witty comments. The USS flag is better than the turtle blimp. Do you mean the what was the equivalent? We looked it up recently. Wouldn't the USS flag, by today's standards, be a $500 toy? The turtle blimp was $25. You can't compare.
So you're saying the cheapness of the toy equates to your fun? Charlie,
what
the
I'm
USS
saying is
flag
if you want to go tit for
7.5 feet.
If you want to go tit for tat, John,
goodness,
that's
bro.
irrelevant. John,
How's that
we're
irrelevant?
not having a
It's the
we're not
largest
having a
toy ever
contest.
made
We're not
for
having
the
a contest
G.I. Joe line.
where we're comparing boobs to apricots. The USS flag is a beast unto itself. We have to go one for one. So I would say, what's the equivalent of the iconic turtle van? What, a hiss tank? Is a hiss tank the most iconic?
It would be the whale. It would be, for those who don't know, the G.I. Joe whale. Yeah, which actually floated, which shot off
cost
depth
a
charges,
fortune.
which had not one, didn't, $20, bro. Had not
$20
one, but
my
two
nuts.
mini. Go ahead, look it up, brother. You can actually buy it right now for $20. It had depth charges. It had an escape pod that shot out the front that floated. It had a little a scout motorcycle attached to the back. Charlie, it was multiple vehicles in one. So I would say that right up against the turtle van, you throw the whale all day.
First and mostly, if you were to poll 100 people, we play the feud with our wonderful viewers and our wonderful listeners. We can be found on every single podcast platform. You can find us all over the internet. If we polled all of these beautiful, intelligent people, and they hadn't seen this episode yet, they didn't listen to this episode yet, and you go, hey, do you want a vintage whale? You think 10% of them would go, the G.I. Joe whale? Or would they go, huh? The whale? Whereas if I asked those same beautiful monsters, if they, what do you mean it makes no sense? The party wagon is iconic.
What you're talking about. If
I'm talking about iconic
hey, Charlie,
versus dog shit.
Do you want a party wagon? They're going to think you're talking about the Volkswagen bus that's parked down the end of the street where kids are like smoking the reefer out of, or like at their little inhalers or what have you. Charlie,
wait a second. Is there, you saying there's a party? Is there a party van down the?
Charlie, the G.I. Joe APC, which was the motorcycle everyone must own. The G.I. Joe Bridge Layer. Charlie, the Bridge Layer. A toy that may let you emulate putting down a fucking bridge in your backyard for more Joes to run across to shoot up the Cobras like it was going out of style. What else, Charlie? What else?
John, let's talk about
the Vamp.
Let's
the
talk
Night
about
Raven.
Let's talk about business partners, right?
Sure.
You're sending little kids off to war. They'll never own a flag. They'll never own a Defiant, right? At worst, I'm sending kids into the sewers. Let's go something we can go.
Go ahead,
tit
kid.
for tat.
Jump in the sewer. Get yourself a little hepatitis B, and you're gonna come up like a little shell-shocked nerd.
As our cousin can attest, you get worse stuff than a little hepatitis in the service. John, when G.I. Joe was desperate to keep up with Turtle Mania. They said, let's implement.
How do you even say that sentence out loud without laughing?
Let's implement some slime, right? Like He-Man before them. They thought they could, and then they went Eco Warriors. That's part of your.
You got a
precious
problem with
line.
the environment, bro?
I do. Unless Captain Planet or the Turtles are telling me to take care of it, I don't give a fuck. That bear, let fires burn, bitch. John,
unbelievable, bro.
Are you trying to tell me there was a gimmick?
You and your little turtle buddies up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna load them all up into the Defiant, and I'm going to shoot you off into space because
Fair.
that's where your brand of bullshit belongs.
Yeah.
That's right. The G.I. Joes had a space shuttle. They had a terror drome. They had it all. The G.I. Joe
I'm sorry, they
did a
they had
flip
what?
over.
Are you trying to say that the terror dome from Cobra? Are you saying that holds up? Did that have a giant mechanical eye at the top of it, causing all sorts of fucking chicanery in Manhattan? No, I don't think so. Did they have a sewer base?
You could launch.
Did they have a sewer base?
Vehicle? No, of course, because they were not monsters that needed to hide like Quasimodo out of sight.
You say
they had, like,
what you will.
Human friends, Casey Jones and fucking April O'Neil, and even they were embarrassed to be seen with them in public.
April's a good point. Are you trying to tell me that Lady J in your toy box was making you a man the way my April O'Neil action figure made me a man? You know what,
Charlie, I won't say that, but I would say that the little frolic parties that I used to throw with Lady J, Scarlet, the Baroness, come on, bro, how dare you try to put the straight up sexy nerd fucking S&M vibe of the Baroness and say that April O'Neil in her little yellow jumpsuit could even hold a candle?
First of all,
come on,
your nerd versus undercover April, real hair, dressed like a prostitute. I got nothing else to say.
Look, what she does with her spare time is her business. She was
undercover.
I ain't gonna hold it against her.
Even the forever against me Ellis, who hates when I'm happy, loves when I'm sad, even he acknowledges in the Facebook comment section, April over Lady J.
Fine.
I will take your snake eyes and I'll put him toe-to-toe with Casey Jones any day of the goddamn week. I live my whole fucking life based around Casey Jones.
Day for Casey Jones. But let me ask you this, Charlie. We'll put this to bed and then we can move on, because I think that we can agree on one thing, that neither one of us is going to change our minds over the rabble-rousing that's been done on the other side. But I'll ask you this, Charlie. Lifetime Achievement Award of greatest amount of toys stolen. Would Charlie stealing G.I. Joe figures owned by yours truly, would that number be greater or less than the amount of turtle toys that were stolen by John from little baby rosy-cheeked Babuchi? What direction is that river flowing, Charlie? Say it once in my good ear. Say it once. Just one time.
You are 38 years older than me. You piece of shit.
Charlie,
You're an old
Charlie
man.
He has
You're
to
an
resort
old man.
to lies, to propaganda, to fake news to try to sell his level of bullshit. But you know what, Charlie? I can fucking respect that, man. I can respect that. I think
All
we can
I
wrap it
know
up because the people
is one of
know
us,
the truth.
One of us is about to be in the comment section, in the reviews, battle it out. Battle it out.
Ellis knows what's up. Ellis
The
knows
comment
what's up.
section is just, if you're not watching the video version, you are missing tomfoolery afoot with the bias ass comment section we have. One of us is about to hold up a shot glass. That's a product of our toy line, and one isn't. And I'll let you beautiful people check the video replay on YouTube, check the video replay on Facebook, and you could be the
4
judge.
points, man.
Because
4
if
points.
here's the real fact, John. We talked about giants. And there are giants that stand next to the Joes, next to the Ninja Turtles, but there's not a lot. And if you think there's a lot, you're no better than the not even fucking 6th runner-up. That is one George, so worried about toys, his movies suck, Lucas, because John!
Ellis, I hope you're paying attention, Ellis.
George Lucas is a liar. Hey, John. Han shot first.
I know.
Salud.
Salud, baby.
Woo! My, like, when I tell you, I'm just ready tonight. I'm ready for war. I'm ready for action.
I got the old joints loosened up. I feel like I just rolled out of boot camp. I am ready to throw down.
Bum bum ba da. We all know you'd be a Cobra.
Well, let's be honest. Their uniforms were much snazzier. You gotta love the red and blue.
It's just.
But Charlie, let me ask you this. Now that we have put at least somewhat the big toy debate to bed, everyone who knows us as gentlemen of opinion, right? And our opinions are such that when we state them, they kind of sound more like fact. You almost don't want to debate it, even if you happen to have the bad taste enough to disagree.
Why are we being punished for our accuracy and our
I don't
acumen?
know, but we come with the opinions strong. Matter of fact, when we started this whole USComics thing, we laid down a layer of rules, commandments, if you will. And there were certain things about comic books that drove us both crazy, as we know it did many of our loyal followers and listeners. And several of them happen to be, we hate derivative characters.
Like loathe.
Like, yeah, we have a big issue. If you have one character, that's great. Let that character be great. Why do you have to have 57 versions, miniature versions, lesser versions of them running around mucking up the works, right? That's one rule. Another rule that we had that we're very strict about is if a character dies, let them be dead. No bringing them back. We are not necromancers. This is not Halloween. Let the dead lie. Now, the character that I'm about to wax poetic about flies in the face of not one, but 2 of those very rules that I helped keep in place, those many years ago. Charlie Spider-Gwen. Popularly referred to as Spider-Gwen, sometimes referred to as Spider-Woman, sometimes referred to as the Ghost Spider. She's got more freaking names than Charlie come tax time.
It's true.
She does it right. This is a character. There's nothing better in my world than someone who proves me wrong, because it forces me to step back.
Fun.
Like unlike the conversation over which storyline was better, this is a situation where I was proved wrong, and all I can do is just stand back and applaud. Gwen Stacy. And Charlie's gone. All right, guys, we did it. And he flip-flopped us. So Gwen Stacy, for anyone who is not in the know, famously died gloriously at the hands of the Green Goblin, much to the chagrin of her BF, Peter Parker.
That was Pete's fault. Come on.
It was kind of his fault because Gwen falls from a great height. Sometimes she's knocked off a building. Sometimes she's purely dropped, depending on which iteration you're looking at. And Peter, though he can't get to her, he thwaps a spider web in her direction, catches her, but the sheer momentum of the speed of going that full speed to like not going anywhere at once, her body stops, but her head kept going about 3 feet, and it just breaks her neck. It snaps her neck like the Giants snapped the winning streak of the New England Patriots several years ago. So she dies, right? And that is a formative moment in many, I should say, early superhero stories' lives. Look, you give them a loved one, croak them, and then that's going to then change their path, usually for the better. Gwen Stacy's a little bit different, though, because here's Gwen Stacy. What happens to her. And Charlie, when's the first time, let me ask you this, when's the first time that you ever saw oh shit, Gwen Stacy's alive type story? Like, what's the first one that pops up on your radar?
I vaguely remember the original chunk of Clone Saga, where Gwen Stacy was brought back.
That's cool.
Not the kind of famously bad one. The one that preceded it, where Ben allegedly
pretty much all of them
showed up.
I hate clones.
Yeah, they're all.
That's
pretty
another
bad.
rule we have. No clones.
Good luck into the Spider-Verse 3. Try to fix the Clone Saga, and John will really owe you money. So that's the first time I remember, and that was a bait and switch, because they were like, she's back, ha, gene manipulation, sucker. So I dug that because of the bait and switch of it all. Felt very Batman the Animated Series with Clayface. Impostonating all sorts of dead people.
That's more than fair. And you said you were like, okay, I'm okay with this. Give me a little story.
Yeah, it was fun. And then Clone Saga happened, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? I don't like this at all.
Too much of a tolerable thing. Okay, that's fine. So my first experience with what if Gwen Stacy ... was literally in a what if comic. And for me, this is one of those situations where that's where the what if stories are really, really effective, because it took a formative moment. Obviously, you lose a loved one, it's going to mean something for most people, literary or real life. It's going to change you. You shouldn't walk away as the same person, one way or the other. This comic, what if number 24, it was literally a what if Gwen Stacy had not died. In that moment, the proper thing happens. They end up in the water and they come up, and okay, you're like, yay, look at that. Now Peter Parker is going to get his happy ending. But if you also remember, and this is something that I have put out there many times, the most interesting heroes are the ones that suffer for their heroism. Nobody, no little kid ever reading any of these stories, watching them on TV or in movies, should sit back and say, I want to be Spider-Man. Do you? Are you paying attention to 92% of the story? Because ultimately what this comic went on to explain was, had she survived that moment and gone on like her happy way, it would have fundamentally fucked Spider-Man up almost instantaneously, Charlie. I know you probably haven't read it, or at least not in the recent memory. It almost instantly fucks up Peter Parker's life. Everybody knows who he is. This is like the first time I really caught wind of what if my fucking secret identity is thrown out there. Instantly, Aunt May is under fucking siege. Her pops, who's a cop, is like, I'm gonna get this, son of a bitch. Like, it is the worst possible thing.
Fuck.
And never mind the spiraling. This is what we refer to as, us Ashton Kutcher fans, the both of us, the butterfly effect. You change one thing and it ends up affecting multiple things many miles away. A single butterfly's wing flaps can create a tornado 1,000 miles down the road. So this what if story was fucking dope. It was dope. It let you know why it mattered. However, Marvel, with them rolling out their multiple Earths, as an eventuality, we would be introduced to Earth 65. And in Earth 65, things are very different. It wasn't Peter that got bitten by the radioactive spider. It was indeed Gwen. She would go on to get those spider powers, and poor Peter would be like, man, I like Dr. Connors. I'm going to make myself a lizard. And he's dead. Peter doesn't have much luck, regardless of which Earth he's in. So Spider-Gwen, Gwendolyn Stacy, again, they refer to her as Spider-Woman initially in the media in that world. She was like, this is a lot of fun. Her moment needed, her formative moment needed to be Peter Parker dying. Peter Parker as the lizard dies in her arms. She's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to be a hero now. I guess my cop father made a good point. Yeah, way to pay attention, Gwen. But that all being said, Charlie, this is a perfect example. And I'm a big man. I'm a big enough man to admit when I'm wrong. Gwen Stacy, it took a little tiny, diminutive, ballerina slipper wearing Spider Girl to say, John, you are wrong. This is how it can be done right. And I'm here to say this is how you do it right. I don't think there's any confusion as to why this is such a popular character right now, to the point where they're desperate to pluck her out of her own world and plug her in to the existing continuities that we know. And I think that is a tremendous mistake. As much as I love the character, I say, let her live in her own world. Marvel is fucking with her world. They got rid of her entire their entire reality. They plugged her into a different one, and the Spider-Verse, as it were, is such a disaster. But I'm gonna give it right to you to take as much time as you want with it.
I think.
Are there any other characters that come to mind that undo your preconceived notions of them, like the Spider-Gwen, do anything special for you? Are there other characters that hey, Charlie, you were wrong about this, that, or the other?
You know what? There's a checklist, and we'll kick it again to Ellis on Facebook, throwing out one part of the checklist.
Is cool. It is cool.
Right. You need a derivative character to aesthetically do something interesting. What I think
you mean like a space blob that you fucking need. Like, well, you know what? I know you're the smartest guy in the world, Reed Richards, but I don't know how to sew. So Reed's like, yeah, I'll get you a
just
you a
throw
space blob
fucking
from,
mud in his face.
Just put this on you, kid.
One thing I legitimately despise about multiverse characters is these characters sometimes are fundamentally different versions of themselves, right? You have two roads.
Absolutely.
Road one is you have Peter Parker, but he was born rich and he's a douchebag, right? The character has fundamentally changed.
Harry Osborn.
Yeah, and you do that thing where he kind of winds up just the Spider-Man you know. The alternative is they're completely different. So the person's name is Peter Parker, but he is half Jamaican, half Puerto Rican, and he grew up in Chicago. And he's 9 feet tall, plays basketball, and he's bitten by a radioactive turkey. And he's the Incredible Turkey Boy. Those options suck. When the stories really work for me, it's when you take a character like Gwen Stacy and you say, what are core characteristics of this lady? We want her to know Peter Parker. We want her to be...
She didn't really... Here's the thing. She was house money, so to speak. Because she was, without having her head in a refrigerator, she was fridged pretty quickly.
Yeah.
There was not much to her. She was, in essence, the fucking what's her face? Veronica and Betty and Veronica had more character fucking definition than she did ever.
Well, but that's
she was just the girl that Peter. She was the unattainable. So
Yeah,
like she
but
wasn't Mary Jane.
Yeah.
She was the unattainable. So Peter didn't even know her well enough so that the reader would have an opportunity. So when they decided that they were going to flesh her out for these purposes, starting with that What If very many years ago, and now even more so, they didn't really have any playbook to operate out of.
But that's the beauty, John. That's the beauty, because with Gwen, where they started, and I think it was a genius place to start, was immediately what would make this Gwen distinctly and obviously different enough from our Gwen that some of us vaguely knew. Because you bring a point, not a lot of meat on that bones. She's alive, and what is a descriptor if she never gets powers? This version of Gwen Stacy is in a band. She likes to fucking rock. She's
the Mary Janes, which is amazing.
Fucking amazing. She's drumming up a goddamn storm. And right there, you got the costume. You got what makes Gwen Stacy interesting without powers. And then you kill Peter. She gets bitten by the bug. Now she's a hero. The character I want to compare her to, who I think is popular, but God knows why, is when stupid little Batman, when he dies with his mom instead of fucking stupid Dr. Thomas Wayne, and then Thomas Wayne winds up Batman, who, like, he likes guns, but, like, he also learned Kung Fu, and he also really has an affinity for bats. Hey, fuck faces at DC. The first guy to be like, haha, Flashpoint Batman is Thomas Wayne. The only reason he's basically Batman is so you can have a reveal that it's not Bruce. That character, upon any analysis, out of Flashpoint is fucking awesome, but Flashpoint was supposed to be a one and done. The fact that they keep going back to this well, like Thomas Wayne as Batman, is interesting, is fucking stupid, because he doesn't have a giant fucking Megazord, he doesn't have a bat party wagon, there's nothing unique about Thomas, other than he uses guns, and he's fucking grumpy, so he doesn't fully shave. Right? Gwen, without the spider part, could tell interesting comic book stories. Given it would be more like Archie and fucking Veronica than it would be like Spider-Man. But it would fucking feel, honestly, it would feel like a real version of like the Chasing Amy comic book that fucking Holding McNeil writes in the movie by the same name. When you take a character, you gotta add something to it. The characters that work, and they're few and far between, can't just be a Mortal Kombat ninja in a different color, right?
Yeah,
it has to be character, and there's a few. I think Terry McGinnis works as a character, even though he's basically just future Batman. Gwen Stacy works as Spider-Woman because she's not just if Spider-Man was a girl.
No,
Very simply,
if Gwen Stacy got spider powers, completely
and it
different.
doesn't always work because the effort's not always put in.
But I will say this, Charlie, if you don't mind that I jump in again.
Please do.
It also works because she's not swinging. Nothing intended by that whatsoever. It's not a euphemism. Or a literal swinging either. They both.
It's two different types of swinging.
She's
our
not
Gwen
side by
fucking
side.
swung too, bro.
She's not side by side with Peter Parker. Like
yeah.
Spider-Man and Spider-Lady. Like that's never an option. Like they make it a point. And again, that's one of the things that I used to love about What Ifs, the What If comics, that they were contained. Right? So they gave you a supposition, then they played it out for you, and they're like, the end. Now you don't have to worry about that anymore unless we decide that we're going to somehow pluck this character, pluck this reality, put it back up on the stage. But at least at that time, I would finish a What If comic, and it was like a small... it was a small version of like the trade paperbacks that we have now, where like you have a beginning, middle, and end. This was a far lesser amount of pages version of that. Like you just cycle through them and you're good to go, and you were happy and you were looking forward to the next installment because it was going to be something new and fresh, and they weren't just trying to kind of like get every last ounce out of the proverbial teat.
Well,
and I really did appreciate that at the time. I'm worried that they are doing it far too far now with some of these characters. You should let them be contained.
Well, it comes from such a place of fear, right? They stumble upon success, and then you want to hold on to it, and you don't ever want to disrupt the status quo. So in Marvel, the 616, I believe, is the main comic continuity. They keep dumping characters into it because you don't want to just build up. You know what I would find way more interesting at this point? For Spider-Gwen? What if Spider-Gwen had a couple books? Like, let her universe get bigger. You got Spider-Gwen running around. Is there a Captain America type? And that's where you drop someone like my great brother here, who we're verbally copywriting this right now, Captain America, but Marine. Start there. It's Captain America. The Super Soldier project was done in the Marine Corps. Fundamentally, there's going to be differences.
Well, but you know, though, that world, so her world, that's Earth 65, right? Which they've winked out of existence. They brought it back. Like, they've done all kinds of crazy shit.
Well, it's far away from the good universe.
It reminds me, I don't know if you guys remember, and I think maybe the more modern iterations, they did the same thing of the Warner Brothers cartoons, where like the cartoons themselves were very well aware of the animators, and you would see a pencil come on screen and they'd be fighting the eraser and shit like that. If only the comic book characters had the same ability. But yeah, so like they have big variances there. So I would imagine that those variations that you're referring to would be even bigger than something like changing the armed forces that Captain America was in. So I don't know if you're aware, but your boy Matt Murdock, he is far from the Daredevil hero that we know. He is like a fucking straight up douche. He is a sleazebag lawyer. Like they really went for extremes in some of the differences. I would argue that makes for more interesting reading, because it brings up that whole conversation of like, is it your upbringing? Is it your genetics? Like, what makes a person who they are? Is it circumstance, or is it already preordained? Those are the interesting storytellers. Charlie, are you on mute, or are we still having that same issue, do you think?
Nope, I was on mute. I had to cough up a storm before. The thing I was trying to do before was compliment you, because I do think subtle change can be great. But I actually think much to your point, what's very interesting about even Spider-Gwen herself is its massive change. Where that opportunity lies, and I don't know Gwen's universe particularly well, but I guarantee second or third tier characters haven't been introduced yet. So it could be these wild variations of second tier, because Gwen Stacy was on the fucking outskirts. Let's not pretend this was a wildly popular character when they went this way.
She was nothing.
So even if you took fucking, take all the dead people. I mean, again, Marvel doesn't really let them stay dead. Neither does DC. But here at US Comics, we're going to break your heart over and over again. Ultimately, my kind of final thought on it is the miracle of Spider-Gwen is even her variations work. Into the Spider-Verse as a flick, my favorite animated feature, I think. Yep, it's my favorite animated film. Into the Spider-Verse.
Just did the math really quick.
Yeah, and it needs that version of Spider-Gwen to have that size role for that flick to work. I am only interested in the sequel because I know I'm going to get more Spider-Gwen on this adventure, because I think she's a wonderful character. I think there's something special about characters that can spawn their own variations. It deserves to be in the universal zeitgeist. She should be as well known as she is, and there's a reason her character is interesting and looks interesting, and someone like Spider or Gwenpool doesn't necessarily work because that character is just girl Wade, but it happens to be Gwen. Like
Yeah, no, that's just like a pure money grab.
boring
But,
formula
only because,
shit.
Charlie, we are up against the clock, so I'm just gonna go ahead and throw out my final thought.
Do it to it.
Look, you have characters like this where, as I had referenced before, you're playing with house money because it's not as if you're undoing something tremendous or you are like educating people tremendously to where they thought something different. In essence, you had a blank slate with her when you decided to bring her back in this way. So you were really able to almost use like a branded concept for something totally brand new. And that's what they did. However, what's ultimately the most important thing in a situation like this is, yeah, sure, bring Gwen back. You cannot have her be in any way in a successful / happy, even / existence relationship with Peter, right? Fate said, no, these two characters cannot be together. That's like their happy ever after is never going to happen. So if you have a situation where you say, no, Gwen Stacy is not going to die. Matter of fact, we're going to give her powers. Fine, fate says Peter Parker dies. There has to be a one-for-one. Nothing in this world and nothing in fiction is free either. That's, I think, ultimately the reason why it is palatable to us as the reader, because they're not saying, oh, no, look, there's a happy ever after there. We're going to automatically cry bullshit, and it won't matter how dope her costume is, how cool her powers are, how up-to-date and hip her haircut is. We will not swallow that pill, be it red or blue. We going to call bullshit. And because they handled it the right way and killed off that little lizard Peter, we said, all right, give me the rest of what you got. I am open sur la table. Do it to it. And that's really my last thought on it, man.
Fun fact, that's
Just
why me and J-Lo never work out. I respect Ben Affleck too much. John! Do you ever feel not so fresh downstairs? Today we are brought to you by Axe Body Spray for your nuts. Axe Body Spray for your nuts is specially for...
Uh-oh.
Wait.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I'm reading the wrong ad because I'm clearly reading the ad that belongs to some punk bitches podcast. Right? Some chumps that sell out for any brand. Willing to throw them a couple ducats. Because no, our sponsors we love. And today we are once again brought to you by one of our absolute favorite bands, and that, of course, is Bad Mary. You heard them during the intro. You're going to hear them during the end of the show. If you're wondering where else you can catch their act, you can follow them over at Bad Mary Band across all social media platforms. You can support them over on patreon.com/Bad Mary. You can stay up to date at badmary.com for merch and upcoming performances, including their soon-to-be-declared tour. They're getting back on the road for the people. And it's about to be their 10-year anniversary of their debut hit album, Better Days. So they're doing what you gotta do, and they're doing their own Spider-Gwen. They're doing Betterer Days, where they're gonna record some of the most popular tracks off that first album. But the best part, John, if you need to refamiliarize yourself with the classic version of Better Days,
I do.
That album and all of their subsequent albums are available across all music streaming services. Come on, man.
Damn straight. And Charlie, I hope that you are done, because I'm going to ask the question, where we dropping with Sergeant Finesse? You can find him currently gaming as a gaming partner on Facebook. He's on Twitch. He's on Trovo. He is all over the place. Multiple streams every day. Outstanding video game content. Supporter games, co-streams, giveaways, contests. Don't be a sucker. Check him out today, because when the Sergeant's on deck, you salute, kid.
Hey, John. I know we stopped talking about amazing toys, but you can agree that a lot of times derivative toy lines are even worse than most derivative characters. But what if I were to tell you even toy lines have Spider-Gwen quality hidden in the history books of Saturday morning cartoons, what if I told you that not only was it good in its day, not only did I legitimately like it, but it's also coming back, a derivative of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I, of course, am talking about the one, the only, the very fast and furious vibin'.
Biker Mice from Mars!
Come on, bro! The biker mice are back, mother sucker! John!
Why?
I never thought I would see the day. I never thought I would see the day that Hollywood would be so corrupt and so desperately out of touch that they would just find any available property and I would get my precious biker mice from Mars back.
What the
John!
hell are you, Gollum? Your precious biker mice from Mars? You have
John,
got to be
Street
shitting my
sharks.
pants.
Street sharks, they are not.
They
They
wish they
are,
were street sharks.
John, they're Martian mice who ride motorcycles and they fight a fish alien on Earth. And this cartoon, all 3 excellent seasons, thought so little of us that as humans, I'm talking about, they declared that if an alien, if a corrupt alien were to come to Earth, he would be able to establish a brand as big as Texaco in no time at all. In the age of cartoons not being able to just sell toys like our precious G.I. Joe, like our precious Ninja Turtles, when they had to have like a message, biker mice came even heavier handed than Captain Planet, because they literally come from a planet that was ravaged by pollution, and they do it while riding gasoline motorcycles. John, because of your advanced stage of life, what was your even awareness of this goofy horse shit that mom and dad were nice enough to supply me with from the clearance section of KayBee? Because it may have lasted 3 seasons, but its popularity was sus at best the entire time.
First and foremost, I'm going to pretend you didn't say sus because I love you. Honestly, I thought that it was a joke. Not in the sense of like we're...
Like an SNL sketch?
Animation producers will work in some adult level stuff, some tee-hees and ha-has for the adults in the room. No, there was none of that. I thought that it was like a fucking April 1st, April Fool's Day thing when I was like, why did Shredder somehow gain the ability to turn the turtles into mice and then have them deported onto a red planet? Poor Edgar Rice Burroughs, the famous writer of John Carter from Mars, must have been rolling his brittle bones over in his grave when they tried to tell this stupid, nonsensical, straight-up, rip-off story as fucking the biker mice from Mars. There were also cyborgs. They also had like alien fucking antennas sticking out of their
Well,
head.
they're Martians, man.
What galactic trash was this cartoon? And then I look over and see my little bubbling brother Charlie just there's his little chinny chin on his wrist, sucking down dry cereal after a long day at school.
John,
yeah.
I shit you not when I tell you, Biker Mice from Mars fucking ruled. And the fact that it is
existed, the fucking Battletoads were looking at disgust at their level of ripoff. The Battletoads were like, look, we know a little something about borrowing, but come on, mice, be real.
I say this with love in my heart. I understand soldiers' toys for children. I understand Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Child.
I understand Ninja Turtles. I understand. Do you remember those fucking toys where they were like fairies, where you pulled the fucking ripcord and they like flew through the air? I even get that. Who doesn't love magic flying bullshit? John, who did they... Clearly, they were going after that turtle demographic. They get a human friend.
You
a
think?
girl named Charlie, who is a cop, but also rides a hog because she likes to party. John, none of the biker mice from Mars skipped Ab Day. Because we got Mondo is wearing a crop top to just show off 3, 4, 5, and 6 Ab, right? We got the leader of our crew with his young Leo DiCaprio hair, sunglasses,
It was
and
the
just
90s,
vest.
in all fairness.
John, just a vest, open for the world to just see his mouse nipples. And then we got a Robo fucking mouse, also in a Robo crop top. John, how the fuck did they have the audacity to teach kids that, like, pollution's bullshit? We're gonna ruin the earth.
Was that the ultimate point of the cartoon?
John,
when
every
they are
episode...
riding fossil-fueled monsters up and down
John,
the avenues?
Every episode was about how, like, if you spill
Ellis
oil.
is immediately nominated for comment of the day with the 90s when even the mice were men. Ellis, well done. Well done.
Oh man,
your Oscar will be in the mail.
There's no fear that one of the biker mice is going to be turned into a purple M&M. Is that what we're saying? John,
or unturned.
How do you... Let's get past the fact that they're doing it. Because as a fan, even I saw this news.
Real quick, walk us through. So again, the 90s were like, look, something's doing well. Here's 50 more versions, lesser... a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, shitty versions of it. Enjoy and give me your money. So we know that this happens, and the biker mice from Mars, I would have to put out there that they were not the first. Certainly not the best. They weren't
the 31st. They might be the best.
Ripoff.
They might be the best.
Well,
legitimately, they might be the best.
I try not to give my time to that trash, like Charlie going to the premiere of the 2016 Ghostbusters. But that being said, Charlie, let me ask you this. So Biker Mice from Mars, they had a cartoon, they had a toy line, and they had a comic, if I'm not mistaken, right?
And they had video games.
Video games, plural. So let me ask you this. One would imagine that the only thing to do with nightmares is to put it behind you, take a hot shower, and go about your day, and do your very best to never think about that terribleness again. What are they doing exactly? So they're bringing back what? They're bringing back a cartoon or a
cartoon,
or a show,
a cartoon, and a comic, and a toy line. John, they're going all in on fucking biker mice from Mars.
Well, I mean, the name does have 4 names, so that is really the only requisite.
They said, you know what we need for 2024? We need to bring back the biker mice from Mars universe. John, my head hurts. You know what this is akin to? This isn't, you went to the theater and you saw Batman and Robin, and you were like, I need a shower, because what happened to Batman? This is that girl you went on 2 dates with, and you had a lot of fun, but like, maybe there was someone else you were talking to that just, you wound up going left instead of right. When Biker Mice from Mars came out, Ninja Turtles was on a massive decline in quality, in toy sale, but there was still some of us that like showed up to the party late, so we're still trying to spend money. And then you gave me a motorcycle that I could put a little helmet on the mouse, and I could rip the cord, and it would go straight for like 4 feet and then fall on its side. I didn't want this. I like Biker Mice from Mars. to say I'm excited for Biker Mice from Mars is a lie. Why would I be excited about Biker Mice from Mars? So my question is, John, if not me, who the fuck is this for? What are they doing? Have they looked? Did they lose a bet? Is this a producer situation where they have to spend money? So they're like, Biker Mice from Mars license is expensive. What's happening?
So like, if we don't spend the budget this year, our budget next year will be that much less. Honestly, what I really think that it is, Charlie, is that they're using time to their advantage, where they're saying, I don't know, like you see this a lot of time with like some of these like sugary snacks that end up back on the fucking shelf after like a long hiatus. If they wait long enough and they retained the recipe, they're figuring, fuck man, people will have forgotten. At this point, it has been long enough where people will have forgotten how much this thing sucks. So what we can do is let's dust off the machines, let's pump out some more Biker Mice from Mars, and feed it to the dumb masses. Let them lap it up like the goddamn pigs that they are. Give us our money, and then we'll take it. We'll collect it all back up, shove it up on the shelf again for another 20-year hiatus. Like they're the worst animated, goofy version of cicadas that there has ever been. And they're just waiting for their time, and their time is nigh.
John, beautiful analogy. Because this feels not like Boo Berry, but like fucking the Berry Wolf around Halloween. Where I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing with Fruit Brute? Stop it. No one likes Fruit Brute. This, I would argue, is even worse. Like, 30 years from now, they're going to reboot HBO's Velma. Because they're going to be like, people fucking hated this. This is going to be hilarious because a bunch of people are going to support it because they're like, look at how brave they are. I would argue, as a fan, do I call myself a fan? I would argue, I think so. But it's fucking Biker Mice from Mars. That is akin. Yeah, please, no.
No, I just have such a gross curiosity.
You and me both.
Is it purely nostalgia for you?
I don't think so.
Or at some point where you're like, I really enjoyed this.
Don't you need to occasionally have thoughts of something for it to be nostalgia? No. I haven't thought of fucking Biker Mice from Mars.
Well,
I have thought about it since the last episode. I've thought about it 3 times.
Well, that's probably about 2 times too many.
We had a conversation in season 1 about best theme song, and I jokingly brought up Biker Mice from Mars because it legit starts like this.
Biker Mice from Mars
is how that shit starts. It starts with robot voice, right? I brought it up.
Not auspicious.
I brought it up when they brought back the Playmates Ninja Turtle shit. I went, oh, they're really grasping for more of my money. What's next? Let me think of the most obscure thing I can. SWAT cats? And someone looked at me like I was a dick, and I was like, 1% less obscure. Like Biker Mice from Mars? And I referred to the last Fast and Furious movie in a negative way. I was like, this is as cheesy as Biker Mice from Mars. Those are the only 3 times Biker Mice from Mars came up. Now you put a gun to my head and say, think about Biker Mice from Mars. I go, I have fond memories of that. I don't know if that counts as nostalgia. It seemed to have been an erased file that I found, and I was like, fuck yeah, Mondo was the tits. That's not nostalgia, is it? I didn't ask for this. And if not me, who?
I mean, Ellis. It's you and Ellis are probably the only 2 guys that are, truth be told, going to imbibe this in any fucking sense. Because, Charlie, I'll tell you this. I stand by I stick to my guns, right? I stand by my claims. If I see something that looks like trash on fire, I'm not gonna walk up next to it and hold my hands up to warm myself. I'm not gonna give it a sniff. That smells pretty rotten. No. I'm sure as hell not gonna flip the lid and look inside. So I'm telling you now, I'm making my claim. I am calling my shot like the great Bambino with his tiny little legs. I am never going to watch or read this stupidity.
First and first mostly, you have a job to do on this podcast. And as
incorrect.
Ellis has coined, as I suspect an executive producer, because if not me and Ellis, then who, we will now be referring to the new iteration of Biker Mice from Mars as BMFM, right? Because that's how we do. If they make a live action...
Only the BM version would be fucking appropriate.
If they make a BMFM movie, you have to agree to see it.
No, I don't.
Opening night, and when Geeky Jerseys makes Biker Mice from Mars jerseys, I will get you one.
Total trash.
John, I'm going to hit everybody
Try.
with my final thought in a second.
Trash.
I want you to think about this, though. Is there any obscure knockoff that you would have any interest in your little heart? While you mull that over, I think this podcast is important to me for many reasons. One of the most is I do think podcasting is a thing everyone should do. I think you should follow your dreams. I have constant fear that my life is slipping away without me getting to fully enjoy it. And this podcast, week after week, the comic John and I are working on, the time we spend talking to you guys on social media, US Comics HQ, the reading reviews, reading comments, either on YouTube, here on Facebook, over on Twitch, wherever you interact with it, man, you're helping me live an absolute dream. And if I thought I would live long enough to see Biker Mice from Mars be brought back, I think I would be a lot more brave in what I go about. Because if BMFM could get a comic book, series, video game, and God willing, a live action motion picture, you can do anything you want to do. BMFM is proof of concept that life is worth living and anything is possible. John, I'll kick it to you for the very last thought. Is there any knockoff brand that you're thirsty for a revival of?
Yeah, for sure. So Thundercats was very much all the rage back in the good old days, and no sooner had the shine from the Thundercats like been in your eyes as a little kid than Silverhawks showed up on the fucking air almost immediately after Thundercats. Silverhawks, Thundercats, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Biker Mice from Mars. These are correlations we cannot ignore. And while Thundercats spawned multiple copycats, probably none was more palatable to my little goofy childhood palate than Silverhawks. They had a fire theme song. Visually, they were all chromed out. They had wings. Dynamite. Just guitar licks flying around through space. It was fantastic. So much so that for me at that point, Thundercats and Silverhawks almost became synonymous, and I wasn't really that interested in one if it was not preceded immediately by the other. So yeah, if someone came out to me and said, "Oh, here come the Silverhawks on new series, new comic, figures, movie, whatever the case might be," I might be just as geeked up as little Charlie Mondo baby. But they ain't. So I don't have to worry about it. I can sit perched up here on my high horse and just look down my nose at all you cretins with your crappy entertainment. But yeah, no, I think you guys are nuts for watching this crap, but I fully support the ability to make fun of you. So
you know what?
On.
I'll allow it. And when we talk about powering on, it reminds me of only one thing, and that is, of course, how we end each and every episode of US Comics. And my friends, John is going to give you the visual if you're looking at that beautiful face of his with that perfectly trimmed beard. Because, John, we have just a couple steps, then we're out of here. Because first, you got to turn the power on. Then you got to turn the volume up. Then you got to tune Bad Mary and open up the window wide and scream out into the night sky, "See, my space girl! We are..."